and I'm here with my colleague Matt Folland tonight, and we're from Home Energy Scotland. So I'm actually just going to share our slides. Hopefully everyone can see that. And basically what we're going to do is we're actually going to give you a rundown.
Well, your slides aren't up yet, sorry, if
all right,
you
okay.
would expect them. I'll give you a wee shout once they're up.
Can you see that now?
Yeah, it's just not your slides.
It's not my slides.
Oh, no, it's not the tab for your slides, so.
Ah, well, you know, it's like...
That's all right, as long as you're not sharing confidential. That's
okay.
you.
That's it now, Scott.
Fantastic. Yes, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to give you some background and information on the types of help and support that's available from Home Energy Scotland. If you've got any questions, actually, as Leanne was saying there, please put them into the Q&A function, and myself and Matt will get to answer them towards the end of the presentations. Just to let you know, we do have an energy saving quiz. Now, this is from the Energy Saving Trust. They run this every year, and as a quiz, so there's a couple of answers, a couple of questions, sorry, energy related, but there's a first prize of £750 and there's a runner-up prize of £500. It is actually easy to enter. You just scan that QR code with the camera on your phone and it will take you through to the entry page. It is free, and I will explain that we are not a commercial company. We're a completely free and impartial organisation that's fully funded by the Scottish Government, and we don't cold call anyone. This is just really to get your entry into the actual quiz itself. Hopefully I'll be able to put this or forward this later on, or you will see it on the recording actually if you miss it. So Home Energy Scotland, if you haven't had any contact with us previously, as I said, we are a service that's fully funded by the Scottish Government, and we are managed by the Energy Saving Trust. The service was formed around 14 years ago as part of the Home Energy Efficiency Programmes for Scotland, and it really had three main aims. The first aim was to help reduce CO2 emissions that the domestic sector generates in Scotland. Second, it was to try and help improve the overall energy efficiency of domestic property. So that could be, for example, the insulation measures, or looking at the behaviours in the home to try and help us reduce our energy costs. And we also assist in alleviating fuel poverty, which is quite a significant and growing issue in Scotland. Now, as I said, we do this by providing completely free and completely impartial advice that's tailored to the customer's needs. If you want to get in touch with us, you can do so between 8 in the morning and 8 in the evening, Monday to Friday, and also between 9 and 5 on a Saturday. And we operate a network of local advice centres throughout Scotland, so we've got 5 in total. Matt and myself work out of the Glasgow office, but we've got offices in Aberdeen, Inverness, Edinburgh and Ayr. The type of help and support that we can provide basically is quite broad. Primarily it would be energy advice, so we can give you energy efficiency advice on your property, how to reduce your energy costs. We also provide water efficiency advice, and the reason we do that is because we are an official partner of Scottish Water, and Scottish Water are one of the largest users of energy in the country, and it takes a lot of energy to get that water to your property, and then when you're finished with it, taken away to preparing it for returning back into the environment. But in actual fact, Scottish Water can only really get access to less than 1% of Scotland's rainfall. And if we can try and promote water efficiency, then hopefully that would impact your energy costs, i.e. lowering them, because we do heat water for washing, cooking, etc. If you give us a call, you would be speaking to one of our contact centre advisors, and they'd be basically looking at if they could provide any other forms of support other than the energy advice. So they'd be looking to see if there might be anything else that you might be eligible for potentially, and they would let you know. We also offer home visits. So for more vulnerable customers, for example, maybe they're having some issue with a supplier, we have energy carers who can provide almost a form of hand-holding support for those customers, and they can actually, they offer a home visiting service for that. Energy efficiency measures, well, if someone is looking to improve the energy efficiency of their property, We get access to certain types of Scottish Government funding. That could be the Scottish Government's grant, which is the Warmer Home Scotland scheme, or we can get access to local schemes to improve energy efficiency measures. What I would say is that we are the only organisation that administer the Warmer Home Scotland scheme. We administer this on behalf of the Scottish Government. And we also provide specialist support, so it could be for businesses. We've got private sector landlord specialists, and we also engage with all the local authorities as well. So if there is any help, any funding available from local authorities, we can potentially get access to that or directly and signposting to that. Just want to actually, obviously the energy cost uncertainty that we're actually in the midst just now, there's a lot of reasons behind that. But the UK government did announce this package of support, and following the last price cap increase, actually, they announced this £400 non-repayable discount that is going to be applied to all domestic energy accounts in the UK. Now, it's going to be split over a period of 6 months, this £400, and you should have actually received yours in October. So within October and November, you will get that £66 credit into your energy account, and it's going to go up to £67 in the following 4 months. Now, it doesn't matter how you pay for your energy, either through direct debit or prepayment meter, you will still get that. And your actual supplier actually should have highlighted to you by now how you should receive that. If you're on prepayment meters, you might receive that in the form of a voucher or have the cash applied to the meter. If you're paying by direct debit, you might get that credit directly into your energy account. Some suppliers actually are paying it or rebating it back into your bank account. So if you're not sure how you're going to receive that help with regards to the discount, make contact with your own supplier and find out how you go about that. Now, Matt and myself, we work and we engage with organisations and individuals, on a daily basis. And the message that we're trying to get across to them is, your energy costs are dictated by a number of factors, but how you use your energy is probably will dictate more so how much your bill's going to end up. So what I've got on screen here is some common household behaviours and how much you can save by trying to adopt these. Now, this is obviously without impacting your own lifestyle. So you can see there that, if you've got a room thermostat in your hallway where you can regulate the temperature, simply turning that down 1 degree can save you as much as £145 off your energy costs. Now, the satisfactory heating regime is anything from between 18 and 21. And if you find yourself having to put your heating up higher than 21 degrees, then it could signify that the property maybe isn't as thermally efficient as it should be. And there might be some form of help out there, potentially. The Warm Homes Discount Scheme, I don't know if everyone's aware of this, but the Warm Homes Discount Scheme is basically a credit that's applied to the electricity account, and it's rising to £150. Now, it was £140 previously. Now, there is eligibility to these schemes, and it is always worth checking with your supplier. Go into your supplier's website, and I would always say there's no harm in actually applying for this, because if you don't ask, you won't get. But it is an annual scheme, and if you were fortunate enough to get that this year, you would have to apply for it next year also, going forward. But the Warm Homes Discount Scheme, check your supplier's website to see when they open for applications. I did mention there about the Warm Homes Scotland scheme and the grant. If you're interested in looking at your own property, the thermal efficiency of the property, there might be some form of help there. Now, this here is designed to help vulnerable people make their homes warmer, more comfortable by installing a range of energy saving measures. And the Scottish Government actually offer this to homeowners and tenants of private sector landlords who are struggling to heat their homes, who have lived in the property for at least 12 months and who meet certain qualifying criteria. But just like the Warm Homes Discount, don't automatically discount yourself that you wouldn't be eligible for this. If you are eligible for it, a survey would be carried out on the property, and the assessor would recommend the most suitable improvements for you. So it could be, upgrading the heating system and installing insulation measures. And these types of measures the costs are met by the Scottish Government. So it's worth actually giving us a call to inquire to see about eligibility. Insulation measures, if they can upgrade your insulation measures, then these are the types of savings that you can potentially make from your energy costs. You can see there, if you do have a loft space, putting loft insulation in there can save you as much as £355 if you haven't already got loft insulation installed. Even a measure like external wall insulation is a great measure to have. It saves you as much as £540. There is other help available to get these measures installed if there's no eligibility to the grant. You can contact us over the telephone. You can request a call back from one of the advisors, and you can actually email us directly from the website. Occasionally we do get referrals from referral partners. One of our referral partners, incidentally, is Citizens Advice. And if they can identify a customer that can potentially, that we can potentially assist with, they can make a referral direct to ourselves. And we have dedicated advisors who can take that up and follow that through. The Home Heating Support Fund, and this is just a bit of information for you. If you find yourself struggling with your household energy bills, as well as looking at other forms of assistance, maybe directly from your own supplier, you see if they can offer any assistance through their funds. There is this thing called the Home Heating Support Fund. Now, the Home Heating Support Fund is open until the end of March 2023, or until such times as the funds have been used up. And you can make an application directly yourself online, or alternatively through one of the referral partners. And potentially, you might get some form of assistance from that, but it is always worth having a look at the Home Heating Support Fund and see if they can potentially help with anything. With ourselves, in addition to the home visits, we also offer translation services. So if we get a call, we use a system called Language Line that helps us to communicate with customers whose first language is in English, and this can be offered in up to 15 languages. I mentioned the energy carers. The energy carers, that service there, we've got our energy carers actually visit customers in their homes, get in contact with them over the telephone, and offer that assistance support, especially if they're having issue with their own suppliers. And just to say that was very quick. And if there was any questions at all with regards to your energy costs, maybe you're interested in seeing how you can improve the energy efficiency in your home, reduce your energy costs, then stick your questions into the Q&A function, and myself and Matt can answer them towards the end. And I'm actually just going to pass you over to Julie.
My name's Julie. I'm from Citizens Advice Bureau, and I am currently based in Drumchapel. So I have a wee slide that's been prepared that I'll go through now. So we've got some advice for you about the cost of living and the energy crisis that's going on at the moment. So the Citizens Advice Bureau offer free, impartial, confidential and informed advice. So you can come to us in private, and your details would never be shared. Sorry, I'm just going to move this box over so I can see. Okay, so the Energy Best Deal programme. The Energy Best Deal is a consumer education programme developed by Ofgem and the Citizens Advice, who've been working together to get this put together for you. Provides information and guidance to consumers and frontline advice workers on how consumers can reduce their energy costs, either by switching tariff, payment method or supplier, and know where to go for help if paying energy bills is a struggle. And save money by using less energy in their home. I don't know if any of you are aware of this, but there was a Don't Pay UK campaign It was all over social media, so Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and that sort of thing. It was calling for 1 million people to agree not to pay their electricity costs and bills in October as a protest against the soaring energy costs. I don't have any feedback on how successful it was, and we're obviously not in October anymore. But it is important to remember that you're dealing with a private energy company and you've signed a legal contract that ties you into paying what you owe them, and they are priority bills. I'll go into a bit more detail of what priority bills are later on. The consequences of not paying them can be severe. So the risk of not paying your energy bills, if you're refusing to pay, it won't mean that the energy company will write off your debt, and in fact could leave you with even more to pay in late fee and charges in the long run. The supplier will report any missed payments to credit reference agencies, and it will lower your credit score and is likely to affect your ability to get credit in the future. So it can have an impact on your credit score. So what does this mean? Suppliers could and are allowed to force you to go onto a prepayment meter, which can happen if your bill is particularly high. Pass your debt onto a debt collection agency, as we know, can apply to the court for order to enforce repayments of debt. And as a very last resort, they can cut off your energy supply. So basically what would happen is if you decided not to pay your bill and your debt continued to accrue, the energy company would offer you to switch to a prepayment meter, which hopefully by breaking things down for you would make it more affordable. We have found that people in universal credits are struggling more with that, which is why the smart meters have been more popular recently. If the debt still remains unpaid, it would then get put to a debt collection agency who would possibly petition to the Sheriff Court. Now, if a court order is granted, then they can attend with a sheriff officer and gain access to your property, whether you're in or not. They can force access to your property to install a prepayment meter in order to force you to pay. It's one of the orders that they can enforce. And stop providing you with energy as a last resort is more, it is rare that it happens, but it can happen. If they do enter your property and fit a prepayment meter, they may not put any credit on the meter, in which case you wouldn't have a supply until you could afford to top the meter up. So a wee bit of information on prepayment meters. They're more expensive if your energy company obtains a court warrant to enter your home to fit a prepayment or card meter. If the fuel supply is on the outside of your home, then they don't need a warrant at all. A lot of gas meters are on the outside of the property. And again, they wouldn't need a warrant for that because it's not inside your property. They would only need a warrant if they intend to enter your property to fit something. Any money owed will be added to your meter, and a set amount will be deducted each week, as well as a standing charge, which could be anything up to 40% of each top up. So if you were topping up £10 each time, £4 of that could be taken for debt before you even receive any electricity off of that. And if you don't pay this weekly amount, you could have your supply cut off, which again is rare, but can happen. So I can't afford my bill, what should I do? So if you were to come to the Citizens Advice Bureau for support, what we would initially do, and we do for most clients that come to the Bureau, is do a benefit check. We like to make sure that you're receiving everything that you're entitled to and that you know all of the benefits that you could get access to. Certain benefits are gateway benefits. There are other things you could be entitled to, and maybe things that aren't advertised all that well. And so we would do a full check for you. And then we would obviously search the extra support that the government has provided. There is more information about that further forward. The government has provided funding to support people who have higher energy bills, but there are all the cost of living payments as well. We can also support you to call your supplier. Sometimes, and more often than not, the supplier will be able to support with something. What kind of evidence they ask for, it depends on the supplier. They may ask to see that it is an emergency situation, but we can let them know that you can't afford the bill, and they do have an obligation to help you come up with a plan that works for both of you. it really is about negotiation. And then if you really want to check your usage, if you feel like maybe your bills are too high and you're using too much, you can get the supplier to come out and check your meters just to make sure that they are reading them correctly. But also we would help you to consider other energy tips and tools for around your home, similar to what we were just discussing. And so there are some grant funds. Depending on your supplier, there are several grants and schemes to help people who need extra financial help. So ask them what is available for you. So that would be directly to your energy supplier, whoever that would be. There's several different ones. Scottish Power have the Scottish Power Hardship Fund that we may be able to get access to if your supplier is in fact Scottish Power, but there are various ones. Or if you or anyone in your home has a health condition, a low income or vulnerability, then they can be added to the priority list. The priority list doesn't make your energy any more affordable. But what it does do is if there is a power cut in the area, you'd be flagged as being vulnerable. It may make the energy company less likely to disconnect your supply also if they're aware that there is a vulnerable person within the household. Okay, so we've got the cost of living support. So these are all of the cost of living funds that the government has been announcing. So the cost of living payment, so you may get a payment of £500 paid in 2 lump sums. First one's 326 and the second one's 324. If you get payments of any of the following benefits: universal credit, job seekers allowance, ESA, income support, pension credit, child tax credits, or working tax credits. You've also got the disability cost of living payment. You've got a lump sum of £150. That's just the one if you're getting any of the following. So that would be any of your disability benefits: attendance allowance, DLA, disability living allowance for adults or children, personal independence payment, or the adult disability payment or child disability payment by Social Security Scotland. We also have the pensioner cost of living payment. So an extra £300 for your household paid with your normal winter fuel payment from November 2022 onwards. So that one hasn't started yet, I believe. This is in addition to any cost of living payment you'll get with your benefit or tax credits. The full amount of winter fuel payment you'll get for winter 2022 to 23 depends on your circumstances. So again, we would do a benefit check just to make sure. We have the child winter heating assistance. The child winter heating assistance is a benefit payment for parents and carers to help with household costs for disabled children and young people. It's a payment of £214.10 for the eligible child or young person. So it would be the child or young person in the household that is disabled. They must be in receipt of the enhanced rate of care or daily living components of the disability benefits. It would not be paid for the standard element or the standard daily living. And it's for children younger than 19. So then we have the energy bill support scheme. So each household across the UK will receive £400. You don't need to do anything to get the money and you won't have to pay it back. Instalments over a 6-month period starting October. So the £66 in October and November, which we should have already had, but I'm aware that some people haven't had it yet. I think it's just been such a massive uptake to outroll that they're struggling to kind of get it all out. But then they get another £67 in December, January, February and March. Well, between those dates anyway. So just a wee bit about what priority bills are. Priority bills and priority debts are things that we would encourage you to make sure are up to date. These are the ones that are enforceable and can end up costing you more in the long run. So there's rent arrears, mortgage arrears, council tax arrears, gas or electricity bills, phone or internet bills, TV licensing cost, court fines or overpaid tax credits, or any other overpaid benefits. And additional information and advice if there's anything else that you are looking for help on. We have some links here to websites that would be able to help. But if there is any further information that you need, you can approach the Citizens Advice Bureau, your local Citizens Advice Bureau, and we do have web chat also that are available to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay. So good evening, everybody. My name's Sheena Howe, and I'm the lead for child poverty at Glasgow City Council, and I'm also the strategic lead for the Financial Inclusion Support Officer project with Gary Devine, who's the project officer. Gary would have been here tonight, but his wee girl's going up to the big high school, so it was the visit. I'd just like to extend my thanks to Leanne and the City Parents Group for just the opportunity to come along and talk about FISO tonight, because as we've heard just from Julie there, just about that complex landscape of benefits and trying to understand what it is, you know, you're entitled to, it's really difficult to know. So FISO can actually help with that, and I'll just talk that through tonight. So first of all, the Financial Inclusion Support Officer project, or FISO as we call it for short, it's a project that works very much in partnership with education services, and it's an education-led programme to support parents. The service is in a number of schools right across the city. It's in most of our secondary schools, and we're in a number of primary schools. We're planning expanding as we go throughout the year. And what it is, it's one-to-one financial inclusion support for parents and families that have got children at the school. So for a lot of people, they maybe ask, what is financial inclusion support? And really the main aim of financial inclusion support is to maximise the income of family. It's to be able to provide advice and assistance, and that can vary from family to family. You know, so some families will speak to FISO and it'll be for them to get assistance to claim welfare benefits, and that can in turn lead to lots of different supports that they may be entitled to access other grants and services, some of them that Julie pointed out as well earlier on. So there's 9 FISOs at the minute, and they currently operate across 47 schools. And a list of these schools and how to contact the FISO will be posted out by Leanne. And as I mentioned earlier, the project was formed as a partnership with education services, along with 3 of our financial inclusion agencies in Glasgow. So that's GMAP, GMAP Scotland, Money Matters, and there's also a consortium of Citizens Advice Bureaus, and that's made up of North West Citizens Advice, Greater Pollock and Bridgeton. And these 3 agencies provide the sort of type 3 trained welfare rights officers that provide this service, and it's an end-to-end service. It's a named contact as well. Can you have the next slide, Leanne, please? Just on slide 3, Leanne. Yeah. So the question is, how can FISO help? So FISO can help parents and families with lots of different advice. So it can be to help you claim universal credit or disability benefits like disability living allowance or PIP, or these benefits are now known in Scotland as adult and child disability payments. So they will help with welfare benefits, but it's not just restricted to that. You know, there are many families who've already been assisted as they've accessed this service, because we've been up and running for about 2 or 3 years now. In some cases, you may be already claiming universal credit, but there's additional elements that you might just not know that you're entitled to. So it can be really worth your while to reach out to the FISO and find out what you are entitled to and see if they can help you. And also there's lots of new benefits that have become available. There is, hopefully most parents will know about Best Start Grant, and that was introduced by the Scottish Government, and there's a number of benefits that are available for children. So you can get once your child turns 6, you can get access to the, as we sort of call it, the preschool payment, and there's lots of other types of benefits like that to help. There's also the new Scottish Child Payment, and I'll cover that in a wee minute, because there's some changes happening to the new Scottish Child Payment from Monday of next week. And as I said earlier, FISO can also help with cost of living. So it's not just about access to welfare benefits. You know, we can also assist parents to claim free school meals, school clothing grants, education maintenance allowance if your child's at secondary school, but also council tax reduction, housing benefit, discretionary housing payments, and also to access the free bus travel that have just been introduced if you've got a young person under 22, because the process can be a wee bit difficult at times, and lots of families are telling us that. So again, FISO can help with that. We've heard a lot tonight from the other speakers about energy costs, and we know just how much everybody's worrying about energy costs at the minute. And what the FISOs have actually can also offer is specialist advice in energy and home fuel related costs. Now that can be from your fuel tariffs, it can be looking at negotiating with your energy provider to manage debt, it can be practical advice, you know, in fuel efficiency, some of the items that we heard at the beginning with Scott. But we also work with heat, where we've got a referral pathway set up where we can provide families with fuel top up to try and just help with this current situation that we're in. And again, looking at those national grants and some of the stuff that's available from Scottish Government, there's a lot of advice and guidance out there, and there's lots of different grants that are available for fuel, and FISO can help. They can just help, you know, rather than you trying to negotiate and look in websites and figure out how to apply, they can do that for you. They can put in payment plans with your energy provider, and just lots of different supports. And really all of those supports are to try and help you with your income. It's trying to reduce the amount of money that you've got out and try and help you increase the amount of money that's coming in as well. And the team are also working in partnership with another service that the council runs that's called the Family Finance Key Workers, or PESF, which is Parental Employability Support Fund. And what that is it's access to training, further education, or even in your work. You know, if you're having, say you had to undertake some sort of SVQ or something to maybe move up a notch, they can help you do that. And what that means is you're then allocated a dedicated employability worker to try and support you through that. But again, it's the FISO that makes the referral, and it's the FISO that keeps a wee eye on things and connects all of these things together. And employability, as we know, is really important in this area at the minute. Now, just before I move on, just sort of the next slide, I had sort of slide 5. I'd sort of mentioned the new Scottish Child Payment earlier on. It's just as one of the benefits that the Scottish Government had introduced. And it's been provided with Scottish Social Security Agency, which is Scotland's equivalent of the DWP. So the payment at the minute is open for children under the age of 6 in Scotland, and it's £20 a week. Now, many families will have already accessed this, and many families have maybe accessed it last year. Child might have turned 7, and there's a bridging payment that's been made, and that's been paid alongside free school meals top-ups. From Monday, the 14th of November, 2 things is going to happen, and that is the child payment opens up, and it opens up for all children up to the age of 16. And an application will need to be made for that. And the second change is that it moves from £20 a week to £25 a week. So that's quite significant. So if anybody's not claiming the new Scottish Child Payment or they're not sure about it, if there's a FISO in your school, I would say definitely contact them, and they will look and see if you're eligible for that, because that's £25 a week can be quite a meaningful difference as well. And also what that means is the expansion means that the bridging payments come to an end. So parents will need to apply to make sure that they don't lose out at this point. So that's sort of me, and it's just to wrap up by saying, you know, we're hoping that that we can provide this sort of service in most schools. And the reason being, it's a dedicated named officer that you get. It's their phone number, their email you get, and they'll get back to you within 24 hours, 48 hours at the very, very most. And as Julie spoke about, it's a full financial health check, and then it's up to you as the parent, the type of help that you're looking for, and the FISO will then work with you to try and just ease some of that stress and burden and navigating all these different systems and places to go. So thanks very much, everybody.
So just a wee reminder, you've now heard from all our presenters some really helpful information there, hopefully some information you maybe weren't even aware of before. So if I can just ask all the presenters to maybe pop their videos back on, we'll put it out to questions. So a wee reminder that if you look at your toolbar where you would normally press mute if you were on any of these kind of meetings, you can see there's a Q&A button. So if you type your questions in there instead of the chat, because you won't be able to get into the chat, Then Catherine will read out any questions and one of the presenters will answer them. So I can see we've already got a question, so feel free to start typing more in as we go along, Catherine.
Okay, the first question is a really good general one. Does the Scottish child payment apply to a third child? So I don't know who wants to take that one.
Probably Gina, are you a bit more au fait with that?
I thought Julie, but yeah, so Scottish Child Payment is available for all children, as long as they are under 16, and it's a dependent child, and the individuals claiming child benefit for that child. Mm-hmm.
It's no other questions at the moment, but I would say that a number of primary schools I've been speaking to would just love to have a FISO. You know, the people are looking forward to a further rollout of that service because it is so valuable. And families moving from one part of the city, maybe having been in a primary school where they were able to access the FISO in the local secondary, the family are actually saying, how do we find the FISO in the area that we've now moved into? So there is a real desire, I think, to have that great service move to other places.
Can I just ask a question, just sticking on the child payment, the child Scottish payment then, just to make it clear, because even myself, and I'm thinking anybody watching is probably thinking the same thing. So you've said the criteria about the age of the child and claiming child benefit. Is there like an income cap for when you're applying for it? Because that's probably what folk need to know.
So there is eligibility criteria for the Scottish Child Payment, and it's the same as the standing eligibility criteria at the moment. So it's for any child under the age of 16 whose family are on a low income. So there is a list of eligible benefits. So there's what we call legacy benefits, are the ones income support, job seekers allowance, child tax and working tax credits, and universal credits as well. I don't know about any other benefits offhand, but those are the main ones anyway. I can't imagine anyone would be in receipt of anything else, but essentially it's just the low income benefits. And also, sorry, just to clarify, for universal credits, it only has to be a live claim of universal credits. So it's not based on the £0. If there's a £0 award, as long as there is a live claim of universal credits, and each month, obviously after, so the way universal credit works is that after 6 months of having a £0 recorded payment, if the wages are so high that it cancels it out, then the universal credit claim would close. So in the meantime, you would still be able to get the Scottish Child Payment for any child under the age of 16. And yet, you're right, it doesn't matter if it's a third child born after 2017, it still counts.
So that's really helpful, Julie, because I think as well, and knowing I was in that situation like a few years ago, that only getting a wee bit of universal credit, and so I didn't qualify for a lot of other stuff. So that's why I deliberately asked that question, because I know that there's some families in that middle of the roads where they think, no, we probably earn too much, we don't qualify for that. So that's really interesting that probably even if you were only still getting a wee bit of universal credit, you'd still be able to apply. I
think it's definitely going to make a massive difference for families who do have the 3 children and only receive support for the 2 or 4 or however many children. I've got a few clients that have, you know, got twins and 2 other children as well. They don't receive any further support other than the child benefit. So that's going to make a massive difference to a lot of families.
Okay, we have another question. Oh, sorry,
I was just going to say, Leanne, you know, I think just dead important for people that have been getting that bridging payment. It's not, so even though you were getting that child payment because your wee one might have been 5, you know, they've then turned 6, you're getting the bridging payment. See, if you don't reapply, your payment stops. So they need to make a fresh application, even though they might have been getting it for the last 2 years, you know, and they'll think they've already got my details. No, you need to put a new application in from Monday. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Gina.
Right, we have another question, and I'm going to name the person asking it, and once I ask the question, you'll know why. So it's from Donna McGill. Is there a FISO that covers the Easterhouse area? And if so, would they be interested in coming along to a community breakfast in January? I'd love to connect with them beforehand too. I'm the community connector for Thriving Places in Easterhouse.
Yes, there is. So first of all, we're in Loch End Secondary School, which I know is up there. I'm just going into my bag to get my list. So I know that we're in Loch End. We're in if anybody else knows the secondaries and Easterhouse, we'll be in there.
Loch End, you're probably in next one. We'd start to be moving over towards St Andrews and
we're
East
in
Bank.
St Andrews.
Would be
We're in
other.
East Bank. Yeah, we're in all of them. Primary wise, I'm looking, trying to think in the north, where we are. But yes, I am sure the FISOs would be delighted to do that, because they have, we've went along together and did some other breakfast clubs. We did some parents' evenings. There was a wee bit of stigma, I've got to admit. You know, families were a wee bit reluctant to come up at the parents' evening. So we've sort of took a wee step back for that again. But definitely just reach out, drop me an email, and me and Gary will pick that up. And I'm sure, because word of mouth and getting that message to families, that helps there, particularly in this sort of climate that everybody's living in at the minute.
There's nothing else, no other open questions, but can I ask a question?
Yeah.
It's about the rollout to primary schools. How is that going to be determined? Because there is no way that you're going to be able to have a FISO in each primary school. So how are you going to determine where those FISOs are placed when you have more of them to go around the city?
So what we're doing at the minute, Catherine, is two things. We're looking at data, right, as always. So there's another piece of work going on that I'm involved in, and I work with the Civic Centre for Innovation, and they look at the CMIS data and they look at the council tax reduction data. So we look at, and although we're not allowed because of GDPR purposes to get right down to individual families, what we do know that there's still 8,500 families in Glasgow that are not claiming what they're entitled to, and we know they are entitled to it based on their council tax details. So what we've done is broken that down into schools and then primary schools, and then we're trying to target those schools where we know the biggest gap is, where there's families in there that are not claiming it. But it's not only that, we also looked at where English is not your first language, because there's been a higher demand for families where English is not their first language. And then the other thing that's just equally as important, believe it or not, is the willingness for the primary school to work with us. So we've had schools contact us. A way back when we went live in 2020, we had a primary school contact us. I won't name them. And they contacted us, honest to goodness, every 3 months. Are you coming to my primary school? Are you coming to my primary school? So when we went to, deliver this to primary schools, we went to them first. Because I says, listen, they've been shouting out for this, and there's a real eagerness and willingness to work with the FISO to promote the service. And that's what we found makes it successful, when the teachers engage, when the FISO engage, and the parents understand, what is this, and how can this help me? So it'll be data, working with the school. So I think we plan to be in about 97 primary schools by next year. So it's not all of them, we'll still be short. That's the plan. Whether it goes to plan is another thing, because it will depend on the demand in the school. Because we can only actually move on to another school when the demand drops. And although we're not moving away totally, it's still there then just to keep going. But for some schools, we've been unable to move on because there's so many family, and obviously some of them are big juggernauts of schools as well. So that's the plan. But very much, Catherine, we do it in partnership with Education Headquarters. We've got a number of people that it's a very much a partnership that we look at. And again, happy to take Leanne and that feedback. If we know that there's parents and parents groups saying, no, there's a real gap in this particular area, then we would definitely look at that as well. Thanks.
Catherine, can I just jump in before we go to Afton's question? Because I'm just conscious we've got Scott and Matt here from Home Energy Scotland as well, and I want to use their knowledge, because I know everybody's desperate at the moment to know about FISOs. But Julie touched on it. I can't remember if you guys said it as well in your presentation. Now, we hear so much about smart meters now. And even I've got British Gas at my door like every couple of months. Right, when am I going to book in for smart meters? And it's not I'm trying to avoid it. I'm just like, I don't know my schedule, to be honest, to book you in. But in my head, I'm saying to myself, right, okay, these smart meters keep getting pushed on us. What is it they do? What is the benefit? Like, how will it benefit me? Because I don't actually think it's quite clear. And if I'm thinking like that, I'm sure there's plenty of people that are thinking like that too.
Smart meters are a great tool to allow you to see exactly how much energy you're using at any point during the day. They're designed to really do away with estimated readings, so get an actual meter reading. And as I say, I've got a smart meter. I mean, some folk, like them. Some folk maybe don't understand them, and are not too sure about them. But really, smart meters are a great way of actually, at any point in the day, I'm going to go to my smart meter and see how much my electricity, my gas has cost me. And if we know how much something's cost us, and if we think it's costing us too much, we can then start taking steps to try and reduce that and look at what we're using. And it can almost help you monitor, almost in real time, what actions are costing you the most money. It doesn't individually identify what appliances are costing you the most, or what they're costing you, but they update every 15 minutes, and I'm sure that you could probably decipher what you were doing, and you get a good idea on what it's cost you. And that allows you to go back. I can go into my smart meter and see how much it cost me yesterday. What was my total for yesterday? What was it for the day before? I can go back through the previous weeks and months. And as I say, it's a great way of doing away with estimated readings. You'll see on the smart meter, your unit rate for your gas and electricity. Like I said at the start of that presentation, there is that price cap, and the suppliers can't charge any more than that. The smart meter will show you what your unit rate is and what your standing charge is. I don't know if you get anything to add, Matt, at all.
I mean, yeah, you've pretty much covered it. What I would say is that everyone is entitled to a smart meter. You don't have to take one if you don't want one, but you do have to be offered one. If you're interested, just speak to your utility company. They will arrange as soon as they can an install for you. There is a sort of increased demand for them at the moment, because people are very conscious now of what energy is costing them, and sort of looking at the smart meter to help them out. It doesn't in itself, as Scott mentioned, save you any money. It's more of an awareness tool. It will make you aware of things that cost you money, and you can then take steps to remedy that, and try and pay as little as you can possibly do, so yeah.
And am I right in saying, do they send automatic meters?
Yes.
Like, does your smart meter send
you don't have to get.
That's my downfall.
Readings.
I get the text and then I forget to do it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm entirely the same. I'm waiting to have one installed, but I'm like you, Leanne. I forget. I get the text and I'm like, I'll do that tomorrow, and it's like 3 weeks later, and I get another text. You haven't sent your reading, and I know for a fact that because I checked, my bill was an estimated bill as well, because they only have to read your bills once a year. They read your meters, sorry, once a year, not read your bills. So I think a smart meter is a good idea. You're going to know a lot quicker if you're getting into any kind of difficulty, rather than it'd be months down the line that you discover you haven't paid enough, or that type of thing. So it's real time, as Scott says, it's real time knowledge.
Okay,
there's a comment here from Afton, I think, that would confirm that. She said, I have a smart meter, and when I notice the red light, I know my daughter has the electric heater running.
Yeah.
And then there's another question from Karen, and I think I probably know the answer. My supplier is saying I can't get a smart meter in my area, even though I've expressed an interest in it. Is there a way to find out when they will be available in certain areas? Is that over to whoever your supplier is?
Yes.
Some of it might be a connectivity issue as well, because they do need, you need to have connection for these things to work. But I am not the expert, but I'm guessing that there'll be a rollout program there, and it will cut. They might eventually reach the area.
I think
but I'll
Julie's
Add something. Sorry, there is actually a charge to the companies if they refuse to install a smart meter. It is actually a legal requirement. There's a charge that can be paid from the energy company to the client or to the tenant if they refuse to install a smart meter. I think it's something like £25. There are details about that on our website. It's not something I've ever had to advise anyone on, thankfully, but there is details there if they want to have a look at it.
Okay, we're happy to go back to a FISO question, which has been asked, and it was about parents in primary school being able to contact the secondary school FISO. And I know I have personally advised some primary schools to do that, but I suppose it will depend on the demand and the capacity of that secondary school FISO, whether they can pick it up or not.
Yeah, Catherine, because because there is 9 officers, so the reason that we're because what we do, so we know, and Julie will know this very much, the level of demand out there of people just trying to access advice services, is through the roof, obviously, so people, and what that means is it's created a waiting time. So I think, Julie, the last time we spoke, it was roughly, anywhere between 6 to 8 weeks if you were contacting the general advice service. And that was probably one of the reasons why we did FISO, because families were telling us, I can't wait 6 weeks, I'm really worried. So we don't want that to happen. We don't want to overload the service, and then it has an impact in the waiting times. Now, if somebody's really, really struggling, and they are really worried, then yeah, I would say, and we have seen that happening, Catherine, where somebody, and we know that because we've got a list of schools, and when the reports come in, we go, that's not in our school, that's not live yet. So we would say if they could try and go through the normal sector, so Drumchapel cab, or your normal advice sector, if they're not, and hopefully we'll get there, and we'll get in a situation where we can provide a sort of citywide service. That's the aim, because we did this as a pilot, and we were thinking, will it work? Will parents want to go there? And then as we found it's a sort of trusted setting, parents are happy to do it like that. They like getting up to the school and then maybe, chatting to somebody. So it's definitely now we're looking to, how do we make it sustainable? How do we grow this service and learn and adapt? So yes, I would say if we can not, because we'll end up in a situation where all the primaries then go to the 9, and then we'll end up with huge big waiting lists, So yeah, so that's a sort of a yes and a no answer.
I'll stop advising that then. Now I know what to do when my primary schools ask me. So I'll stop sending them in that direction. But I'm hoping that some of my link schools are actually going to have access as part of the primary rollout, just by being the base. So there's no more